You don't think it will be you. Not really. You hear the stories, you see the consequences, but in your mind, there is always distance, always a gap between what happens to other people and what could happen to you, until one moment comes where that gap disappears and something small, something quick, something you didn't fully think through changes everything before you even have time to react. In this video, I am going to show you something most people only understand after it is too late. Why intelligent people still make reckless decisions, why danger feels distant until it is directly in front of you, and how a story that is thousands of years old still predicts exactly how people destroy their own lives today. You have seen it before, maybe not in extreme ways, but in small everyday choices. Driving a little faster than you should because the road feels empty. Checking your phone for just a second because nothing ever happens. Staying in situations you know are risky because it feels exciting. Ignoring protection because it feels better in the moment. Laughing off consequences because nothing bad has happened yet. And that is the key. Nothing bad has happened yet. So your brain starts to believe nothing ever will. You start to build a false sense of safety, not because you are safe, but because you have been lucky. And luck is one of the most dangerous things a person can rely on, because it slowly convinces you that risk is not real. This is what it actually is. It is not confidence. It is not freedom. It is not living life to the fullest. It is a quiet pattern of testing limits without respecting them. It is pushing closer and closer to the edge while convincing yourself you are still in control. And the problem is, the edge does not announce itself. It does not warn you. It just arrives. Your brain is wired in a way that makes this worse, not better. Because when you survive risky situations, your mind does not say that was dangerous.
It says that worked.
And each time you get away with something, your brain lowers the perceived risk and increases the confidence, even if the reality has not changed at all. So you become more comfortable doing things that could destroy you, simply because they have not yet. This is why people who know better still make bad decisions. It is not a lack of intelligence. It is a distortion of risk, a quiet illusion built from repetition and survival. And it builds slowly until one day it collapses all at once. There is an old story about a boy named Icarus. His father built him wings made from feathers and wax so he could escape. And before he flew, he was given a simple warning. Do not fly too close to the sun. Not because the sun is evil, not because flying is wrong, but because there is a limit. And if you ignore that limit, the same thing that gives you freedom will destroy you. And like most people, Icarus felt the power before he understood the danger. He felt the wind, the height, the freedom, and for a moment it probably felt like nothing could touch him, like he had escaped the rules that everyone else had to follow. So he flew higher and higher, not because he wanted to die, but because he felt invincible. And that is exactly how people fall. This is not just a story about a boy. It is a pattern. It is human nature, because today, the sun looks different. The sun is speed. The sun is attention. The sun is validation. The sun is risk. The sun is the feeling of being untouchable. And every day, people fly closer to it, thinking they are the exception. And this is where it starts to turn, because the consequences are not always immediate, which makes it worse. Someone drinks and drives and makes it home safely. So next time they feel justified. Someone sends that risky message and nothing happens. So next time they go further. Someone fights and wins. So they believe they always will. And each small victory builds a false identity that says, I can handle this. Until the moment comes where they cannot. A car moving at speed, a glance at a phone, a second of distraction, and suddenly a life is gone. Not just one life, but multiple. The person hit, the person responsible, the families involved, the future that no longer exists, and all of it happened in seconds. Not because they planned it, but because they thought they were still in control. This is how fast things change. There are people right now sitting in prison because of 10 seconds. There are people living with permanent injuries because of one decision. There are people raising children alone because of one night. And if you ask them before it happened, they would have told you the same thing everyone says. It will not happen to me. The uncomfortable truth is this: most people do not think they are reckless. They think they are normal, and that is exactly why it is dangerous. Because the line between normal and reckless is often invisible until you cross it. And here is the part people do not like to hear. The world does not care about your intentions. It only reacts to your actions. You can be a good person, a smart person, a kind person, but if you make one wrong move at the wrong time, the consequences do not adjust based on your character. Another truth: the worst outcomes are not always the result of extreme behavior. They often come from ordinary behavior done at the wrong time. Checking your phone while driving is ordinary. Speeding is ordinary. Not thinking things through is ordinary. And that is why it catches people off guard. Another insight: the more you normalize something, the less dangerous it feels, even if the risk is still there. So what starts as a one-time thing becomes a habit. And habits are what quietly shape your life. And one more: most regret is not loud, it is quiet. It sits in the background of someone's life, replaying a moment they wish they could take back, knowing they cannot, and having to live with that reality every single day. This is the realization:
Life does not fall apart in dramatic slow motion, the way people imagine.
It collapses instantly, and the things that cause it are often the same small behaviors people laugh about, ignore, or justify because they have not seen the worst case scenario happen yet.
So, what do you do with this?
You do not become paranoid. You do not stop living. You become aware. You start respecting limits instead of testing them. You start thinking one step ahead instead of reacting in the moment. You understand that discipline is not restriction, it is protection. You start asking simple questions before you act. What is the worst case scenario here? Not in a dramatic way, but in a real way. And if the answer is something you could not live with, then it is not worth the risk, no matter how small it feels. You slow things down, especially in moments where everything feels fast, because speed is where most bad decisions live. Whether it is driving, emotions, or impulse, slowing down gives you space to think, and space to think can save your life. You stop relying on luck, because luck runs out, and when it does not warn you, it just disappears, and whatever happens next is real. And you start to understand that being in control is not about how far you can push things, it is about knowing when to stop. Because the people who avoid disaster are not always the smartest or the strongest. They are the ones who respect the edge, the ones who understand that just because you can do something does not mean you should. At the end of the day, nobody wakes up planning to destroy their life. They just slowly build habits that make it more likely until one day probability becomes reality. So remember this: the sun is not the enemy. The danger is forgetting that it can burn you. The truth is simple: you do not need to fly as close as possible to feel alive. You just need to stay far enough away to keep living. Because once the wings melt, there is no rewind, no second attempt, no undo button. Just the consequences of a moment you cannot take back. And that moment always feels small until it is everything.